Hi guys, Greg Secker here again in the trading den. Now today I'm going to be looking at the 3 top most annoying trading problems which are cleverly solved by using SmartCharts. That's something we're going to cover right here, right now. So the first problem is that most people come up against is this concept of risk management and how much money they should place on a trade. I constantly get asked on the internet via this YouTube channel and literally all over the world, how much do I place on the trade? If I want to make 10 grand on a trade, how much money do I need in my trading account? How many pounds per point if they're using a spread betting account or a CFD account in the UK? Or what is my lot size? How should that be calculated? And then people get stuck and they get confused. And then what they tend to do is they'll use an arbitrary amount. They'll use an amount which, really is not indicative of anything. They'll hit 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds a point when their account is too small. And then boom, they've blown up their account positively, or what often happens, negatively. So let's make sure we understand that first and foremost. And to really answer that, SmartCharts is clever. It will allow you to risk an amount based on a percentage risk of your account. Obviously, that will change over time as your account size grows, and therefore your risk will grow. Obviously, if we were to take a 2% risk managed approach, meaning that we risk 2% on every trade and we have a 10 grand trading account, whether that's £10,000 or $10,000, we know that we're risking $200 or £200 on every trade. Obviously, as that account then grows to say £20,000, we now know we're risking £400 or $400 if we keep fixed with a 2% risk management approach. I like that approach. I think it's sensible. I think it's smart. I think that's what successful traders the world over have done. That's certainly been my experience, having worked on 7 trading floors around the world and coached nearly 300,000 people. I can certainly tell you a set account risk managed percentage approach is the one to go for. However, some people like to do it in a different way, in different flavors, and for that very reason, SmartCharts has carefully and cleverly accounted for all different types of risk management. Let's have a look by jumping straight into SmartCharts. So let's just grab any trades, hit go. Let's say we were going to buy this. Now, let's go to the top here. We're at top right-hand corner, risk percentage. So we're saying by default, if we enter this trade, we're risking 2% risk on the trade. Now, that means that 2% of the underlying, well, in this account, obviously there's 1.4 million in this account. So it's a larger account, so 2% of 1.4 million is considerably more than somebody who's just trading a $10,000 account. But what about if I said, I don't want to risk in terms of percentage, I want to do it pounds per point or lots? Well, simply go to the risk percentage and drop down. You've got your options here. So I can do dollars or pounds per point. This is a dollar account. So my dollars per point, I can say, look, for every point this moves in my favor or against my favor, I can decide to trade $40. So $40, and then what that will do is then it will risk size that onto the trade. You'll now see, okay, my risk parameters have altered on this change in terms of how much money I'm physically risking. That's changed. I'm now risking $900 or $800 at 20 pips. And I've got a profit target here of 20 pips, so I can see as I adjust my trade ticket, so it adjusts what it shows me on the chart in terms of how much profit I could make or what loss I could make. What about if I want to go in lot sizes? Well, let's say I want to trade one lot. Let's start with one lot. Well, one lot on £20, 20 pips. Obviously, one lot is the equivalent of $10 a point. That's going to give me $200 of profit or $200 of loss if it's a 20 pip risk, 20 pip profit. So one lot is the equivalent to $10 per point. I can change that here. I can do 1.5 lots if I want here. So 1.5 lots would give me a $300 profit. It would give me a $300 loss. So if I like trading in lots, SmartCharts will account for that. If I like trading in pounds per point, SmartCharts will account for that. Or I could just say cash amount. I'm willing to risk $500 on this trade. And that is going to be my risk. So I hit $500. It says, well, the closest I can get you to $500 with 20 pips would be $498, which is also going to give me $498 of profit should this trade work in my direction, or in my favor, should I say. So effectively, SmartCharts is going to allow me to do both. It's going to allow me to use pounds per, in fact, more than both. I can do risk percentage. 2% of my account is a great starting point. I can do dollars per point. So that's like pounds per point, whatever your local domicile currency is. That means that every point that moves moves in my favor, I gain whatever that stake amount is. In this example, I used, I think I used 40, which meant that I would have $800 of profit, $800 of loss on a 20 pip profit or loss. And then I could use lot size as well. Tends to be for people that are traditional currency traders that come from the old game that trade in lots. And that tends to be anyone that isn't using a derivative account. And again, you can just use standard lots, a lot, half a lot, a tenth of a lot. If you're a smaller trader, you might want to use micro lots, which would be 0.1 of a lot. Again, you've got to use the right tool for the job in hand that you have based on the underlying capital in your account. But there are your 4 different options. You can do risk, which is a risk percentage. I would keep it at 2%. Dollars per point. You could do lot size, or you can just do an ultimate cash amount. I would ensure, if I were you, that whatever approach you take, you don't want to be risking more than 2% of your account on any one given trade. So I hope that dispels the first question you may well have. Let me go to the second question I constantly get, which is, as a new trader, I often look at one time frame, which means I'm not sure of the total direction of the trend. To better see the direction of the trend, I need to be able to look at higher and lower time frames at the same time, and I think this is difficult to do on most platforms. It really isn't difficult to do on most platforms. Just some platforms don't really lend their way to do that simply. SmartCharts does. I'm going to jump back to my screen now and show you how we would do that in SmartCharts. So what I've done here, if we jump to my SmartCharts screen, first of all, I want to look at, let's say, 4 charts in one screen. And that's going to allow me to look at time frame through 4 separate windows. So I'm going to start building this as I want it, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to call that the daily. So I might decide to actually save this whole group now as, I'm going to call this multi-time frame. Multi-time frame. I'm going to save that. That means everything I now do to these windows, if you look bottom left now, I've created this button called multi-time frame. Whatever I now do in terms of my window arrangement will get saved under that window template profile layout, if that makes any kind of sense. So I'm going to make sure I series link all the windows. That means that I hit the color button here, and I'm going to go for the color red. So everything that is red will be the same currency or the same asset class. So I'm looking at the UK 100. Well, let's say I jump straight back to forex, and I want to look at the sterling against the New Zealand dollar. You'll notice it paints all of those windows like that. I can remove any strategy I might then be running. So I can just take Euro Sterling, for example. And now we can see we've got the daily chart, which is D1 here. That's every bar is 1 day. We've got the hourly chart, would be actually the 4-hour chart that we would like on the top right-hand screen. So that's 4 hours. Every bar is equivalent to 4 hours. We've got the 1-hour chart here, which is bottom left. So this is again Euro Aussie. I can also put some saved template windows. If I put, I don't know, I might decide my Greg standard setup I might like on there. And then if I hit auto scale, that's just going to put standard setup, which is just nothing on the chart whatsoever. If I want to have a different sort of layout and I put studio on there, I can then have slightly different bars if I would like to have that. Or if I pick a different one, which might be ATR, that puts my average true range indicator on that I've had on before. So I might decide I want my hourly window to be laid out like that so it's nice and clear. And then I might decide, well, actually that my trading window, the one I'm going to use to execute on, is the 15-minute. So now I can just flick between any window layout I like. But when I go back to that multi-time frame, I now know whichever currency pair I decide to look at, it will change all of those windows simultaneously, updating them all. But I now know that my execution window, the one I might want to trade through, is this bottom right-hand one. I can then make that bigger and make some trading decisions about that. I might decide to go short on the euro against New Zealand dollar because it's below the 200. I might then want to check that with some of my other moving averages, making sure that those other moving averages are consistent. Now I might want to add a 200 period moving average here. So if I hit EMA and say okay to that, and then make sure that the EMA that I'm actually looking at is actually set up for the same settings that I just discussed, which is 200, that's correct, update. And then I can add the same to this window here, which currently if I look at my EMAs that I currently have on, I can see I've got a 200 and the color there is green, and that's fine. And I might also look at the second one here where if I look at the EMA click on that, and it's 50, and the color there should be red. That's great. So that's the standard layout: 50 red, 200 green. You can see I'm above the two. I've made the 200 blue on this. I could decide actually if I wanted to change that and say, well, let's just change that around, make sure that's consistent with the other colors. I can come along and just change that to green, and I am good to go. So there's my 200 there. I've got my other window here, which is my 1 hour chart, and then finally my 15, which could be my execution window. So basically I can then look at that and say, okay, this particular chart, it's above the 200s on most time frames. It's just broken above the 200 on the 5-minute time or the 15-minute time frame. So it gives me an indication of where I am. That is how that annoying problem is solved, because I now have a unique top-down view of the world. Third most annoying issue is I want to have a better way to track my trading results and learn while I am placing real live trades. So let's go take a look at how we would do that in SmartCharts. Really, really simple. So regardless of what trades we've placed, and notice that this is sequential from left to right. So we start with learn, then we go into charts where we do our trading activity, and then we go into trades, which is holding the trades that we're currently placing. So any pending trades are in here, any closed trades are in here. If I jump across to then my journal, it'll give me an understanding of how well I've done. So it'll show my trades in the bottom here. It will also show the performance overall. So we've been up and down and steadily moved up. There's more winning trades than losing trades on this particular account. And then I can also see this through a slightly different window. So if I go to here, in fact, a nicer way to do this is to show winning markets and losing markets. So I can see from a monetary point of view, I'm winning on euro pairs, euro Aussie dollar, CAD yen, and euro sterling. And so far my losing markets have been these ones. If I go to strategy, which is the picture of a chess piece, and then I go again to my winning and losing, well, you can see T-wave, pip runner, 180 phase changer, and a no strategy. This is obviously where I've been using my own pivots. I've been winning, and I lost one trade on a bolly bounce. So it shows me, it gives me an understanding of the distribution of, and I can have this displayed to me in any way I like. I can look at winners or longs versus shorts. It gives me a real understanding of how I'm progressing. And I can see this in many different ways. I could decide to see this in terms of pictorially, like a histogram. I can have a pie chart, winning trades, winners versus losers, and it'll show me that my losers has really been the bolly bounce. And that's only on one trade place. But my winners, and it shows me which proportion of winners. A T-wave, obviously we know is a good trading strategy, pip runner. My no strategy, which I'm doing the pivot trades with you, and my 180 phase changer. So one of the beauties about this is it tracks what you're doing as you're doing it. And the idea here is for you to become a better trader by obviously being aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so the trades moves into journal, and then journal really keeps a track of everything you're doing. So I can see which strategies are performing best, what I'm doing with my money, and then over time, hours of the day, which hours of the days are better, which hours of the days are worse. And more importantly, if I then decide to look at a chart of winners versus losers, or have it listed, I can see which strategies are best or which ones I'm making money on. Again, I can just show it by that dotted list, and it shows me which currencies I'm making on, which ones I'm losing on. It gives me a real overall picture of my performance by hour of the day, by day of the week, by winners or losers, and also by longs, shorts, and finally, of course, by currency pairs and strategies. So that really gives me an inside view of what I'm doing without me having to keep a journal. This is building that trading journal for you. Remember, with currency trading, always you want to make sure that you're running to a trading plan. I'm going to do a session on building your trading plan coming up very shortly. And also making sure that you're journalizing what you're doing. What the beauty of this is, it allows you to add notes and strategy names to the work you're doing as you go along. So if I was to place, for example, a new trade, let me go to one here. And just as a random example, let's say I went long here and there's no strategy, but I wanted to tag it. I could say Greg example like this. And I could say I'm gonna, let me just open this one out so I can show you a different kind of entry. Let's say, for example, I wanted to enter on the bar high. That would be the high of, and I want it to be on the high of this bar. Let's say I wanted, when we get to the high of that bar, you can see that's a nice entry. Then I want to go in. Or maybe I decide I want it to be the high of that bar or that bar. I can get SmartCharts will adjust for me. So I can say as soon as that bar high is breached, I want to be in. But I want to make this a Greg bar high example. Oops, if I can spell correctly. Bar high example. And then basically wherever I move this over to my entry, SmartCharts will adjust it perfectly. I can then hit go. And then if I hit trades here, you'll see that that example is in pending, and it says Greg bar high example, and it shows me which entry is, which is 17621. So that's how it works. Now, if you like this video, don't forget to hit like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, get yourself on there, because there is a hell of a lot of really cool content coming over the next few weeks. I want to make sure you get access to that. And if you like the platform that I've been trading on, what I've been doing my demos on, SmartCharts is my tool of choice. There is a 7-day free trial if you'd like to grab access to that, and then it's only $149 a month, which gives you access to everything: the scanning tools, the full education syllabus, all of the trading tools, all of the insight tools, all of the scanning tools, and then all of the trade and risk management tools. So if you want to grab yourself a copy of that, it's in the description of this video. Until then, I look forward to seeing you next time.